Everyone thinks they need a Rolex, but what if you don't? Rolex increased prices 3 times in 12 months, and there could even be more price increases. And it is not just Rolex. We are at a point where luxury watch brands are determined to price out the masses out of owning a watch. But we won't allow them to get away with this. In this video, we've got a list of watches between $100 to $1,000 that can compete with these expensive luxury watches. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which watch you are and exactly what to buy in 2026. Let's start with the most important category, the one-watch collection. Most people don't need 10 watches. They need one watch that doesn't embarrass them in any situation. One watch that works with a suit on Monday and a t-shirt on Saturday. One watch they can forget about, and it just works. These 3 watches solve the one-watch problem completely, and they couldn't be more different from each other. Starting with the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80 for $725. This is the cyberpunk watch. That integrated bracelet design, the angular case, the way light hits those brushed and polished surfaces. It looks like it was designed in 2049 and sent back to 2026. It's a pretty versatile watch that shouldn't be possible at this price. The PRX works with a suit because it's thin enough to slide under a dress shirt cuff. It is 11 millimeters thick, with an integrated bracelet that gives it that luxury sports watch vibe that normally costs 5 times as much. You can wear this to a business meeting and nobody will think twice. Then you change into a t-shirt and jeans on Saturday, and the same watch looks completely different. The angular design reads casual. The ice blue dial version, particularly, it's simultaneously dressy and sporty depending on context. That's the magic of good design. It adapts to you instead of forcing you to adapt to it. The Powermatic 80 movement is where Tissot actually delivers. 80 hours of power reserve. You take this off Friday night, don't touch it all weekend, put it back on Monday morning, and it's still running. Look at that smart engineering. Makes your life easier, doesn't it? The movement is COSC certifiable, even though Tissot doesn't bother with the certification. It's accurate, reliable, and proven. At $725, the PRX is one of the few watches where paying retail makes sense. The gray market discount is minimal because demand is high. Tissot got this one right. It's not trying to be a luxury watch. It's trying to be the best possible watch at $700, and it succeeds. Let's move on to the next versatile watch that can do it all. Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical for $595. This is for the guy who wants to look like he's ready to hop in a Land Rover and disappear into the woods. Whether he actually does that or just works in an office is irrelevant. The aesthetic is what matters, and the Khaki Field Mechanical nails it. Hand wind movement, 38 millimeter case. The smallest details matter here. The vintage lume color on the hands and markers, the domed crystal that catches light like watches from the 60s, the fabric strap that looks like it came off military surplus. This watch has a story even if you just bought it yesterday. Hamilton's military heritage is real. They supplied watches to American forces in actual wars. The khaki field design pulls directly from those military field watches. But in 2026, it's not about actual military use. It's about the romance of adventure. The idea that you could go do something rugged at any moment, even if you're currently sitting in a coffee shop. The hand wind movement is where opinions split. Some people love the ritual of winding every morning. It's tactile. It connects you to the watch. You feel the mainspring tension increase as you wind. Others find it annoying because they forget and the watch dies. Know yourself before buying a hand wind watch. At $595, the Khaki Field Mechanical is positioned perfectly. It's not trying to compete with Swiss luxury. It's delivering vintage military aesthetics with reliable Swiss movement at a price that doesn't require justification. You see this watch everywhere in watch content because it photographs well, and Hamilton sends review units to everyone. But it's everywhere because it genuinely works for a lot of people. Now, let's talk about Christopher Ward's C63 Sealander for $950. This is the Rolex Explorer for people who don't want to wait 3 years or pay $9,000. Christopher Ward is a British micro brand that sells direct to consumer, cutting out authorized dealer networks. That's how they deliver $3,000 finishing at under $1,000. The C63 Sealander is their sports watch that works for everything. 36 or 38 millimeter case options. Both wear perfectly. The finishing is where Christopher Ward separates from competitors. Multiple surface types on the case, brushed, polished, different angles, catching light differently. The bracelet has solid end links and a machined clasp with the twin flags logo. These are details that matter when you're wearing the watch every day. The dial is clean without being boring. Applied indices, proper proportions, a date window that doesn't disrupt the symmetry. The Sealander uses a Sellita SW200 movement. Swiss, reliable, serviceable, anywhere. It's not in-house, but in-house doesn't matter at this price point. What matters is accuracy and reliability, and the SW200 delivers both. At $950, the C63 Sealander is competing with watches that cost twice as much. The value proposition only works because Christopher Ward sells direct. No authorized dealer taking 40% margin, no retail presence overhead, just a well-made watch sold at a fair price. Those three watches represent the 2026 shift nobody saw coming. Here's what changed in 2026 that makes these watches different from what was available even 2 years ago. Brands stopped choosing between vintage aesthetic and modern technology. They're combining both. The Tissot PRX looks like a 70s integrated bracelet watch, but that Powermatic 80 movement with an 80-hour reserve and silicon hairspring, that's 2020's technology. The Hamilton Khaki Field has a vintage military case design from the 60s, but the modern anti-magnetic components and shock protection, contemporary engineering. This is the neo-vintage boom. Manufacturers realized that people want vintage style without vintage problems. Nobody wants a vintage watch that stops if you look at it wrong or loses 3 minutes a day. They want the aesthetic of 1960s tool watches with the reliability of modern manufacturing. Silicon hairsprings resist magnetic fields that would stop a traditional watch. Ceramic bezels don't scratch or fade like aluminum. Modern lume is brighter and lasts longer. These aren't luxury features anymore. They're showing up in $600 watches because the technology became affordable to implement at scale. The Christopher Ward specifically looks like a vintage Explorer watch, but the anti-reflective coating on both sides of the sapphire crystal is a modern touch. Vintage watches didn't have AR coating. They were harder to read in bright light. Modern manufacturing solves this while keeping the vintage aesthetic. This is why 2026 is different. You're not compromising between style and substance. You're getting both. And nowhere is this more obvious than in dive watches, which I'll be talking about next. Dive watches are the most practical watch category that most people will never use for actual diving. They're water-resistant, durable, legible, and they look good. That's enough. Here are 3 dive watches that represent 3 completely different approaches to the same problem. Now let's talk about Seiko King Turtle, SRPE 03625. The 2026 upgrade to the King Turtle is what Seiko should have done 5 years ago. Ceramic bezel insert, sapphire crystal. These were the 2 complaints everyone had about previous Turtle models. Seiko listened. Finally, the Turtle is a tank. 45mm case that somehow doesn't look huge because the lug-to-lug is only 47mm. The cushion case shape distributes size differently than round watches. It hugs the wrist instead of standing off it. 200 meters of water resistance with a screw-down crown. ISO 6425 certified, meaning this meets actual dive watch standards, not just marketing claims. The 4R36 movement is Seiko's workhorse automatic. It's not fancy, it's not decorated, it doesn't have a silicone hairspring or fancy finishing. Plus or minus, 15 seconds a day is standard, and it'll run for decades with basic service. Hacking and hand winding are standard features now. The power reserve is about 40 hours, which means weekend wear without stopping. The ceramic bezel upgrade matters more than it sounds. Aluminum bezels on previous Turtles would scratch and fade. Ceramic doesn't. That bezel will look the same in 10 years as it does today. The sapphire crystal similarly won't scratch from daily wear. These aren't luxury touches, they're durability improvements that extend the watch's useful life significantly. At $625, the King Turtle is Seiko finally delivering what people wanted. It's not trying to be a luxury watch. It's a tool watch with tool watch pricing and 2026 materials that make it better than tool watches from 5 years ago. Have you heard about the Citizen ProMaster Fugu that costs $550? Fugu is famous for one thing, its pufferfish bezel. The bezel edge is aggressively textured with a diamond pattern that gives it serious grip. You can operate this bezel with gloves on, underwater, with cold hands. It's a pure function that happens to look distinctive. But the real deal is ISO 6425 certification, which means it meets international standards for dive timekeeping. Water resistance to 200 meters, luminous markers visible from 25 centimeters in total darkness, unidirectional bezel, all of it tested and verified. Most watches marketed as dive watches aren't ISO certified. The Fugu is. That distinction matters if you actually use watches for their intended purpose. The EcoDrive solar charging system is where Citizen separates from mechanical dive watches. You never change a battery. Sunlight, artificial light, any light charges the watch. The power reserve is 6 months once fully charged, and that's even without light to charge it. So for daily wear when you are constantly in lighted areas, you'll never run out of power. Accuracy is plus or minus 15 seconds per month, not per day. That's 10 times more accurate than mechanical watches. For people who actually need to know the correct time, and despite what watch enthusiasts claim, accuracy matters, quartz is objectively superior. The Fugu comes in multiple dial colors. The basic black is utilitarian. The blue dial catches light beautifully. Even the orange dial, which sounds garish, works because it's a tool watch. High visibility is the point. At $550, the Fugu is one of the smartest dive watch purchases available. Solar charging, ISO certification, Citizen's reputation for reliability. Everything works. And speaking of what works, you need to get the $650 Baltic Aquascaf. This watch looks like it was pulled off a 60s French Navy diver, and that's intentional. Baltic is a French microbrand focused on vintage-inspired designs with modern build quality. The Aquascafy is their dive watch, and it's aimed directly at people who love vintage aesthetics but don't want vintage problems. 39mm case. That's small by modern dive watch standards, and it's perfect. Vintage dive watches were smaller because wrists haven't changed size, but watch trends have. The Aquascafy wears elegantly because the proportions are correct. Domed sapphire crystal adds to the vintage look while being actually scratch-resistant, unlike acrylic crystals on real vintage watches. The beads of rice bracelet is the signature detail. This bracelet style was common on vintage dive watches, and it's having a renaissance in 2026. It's comfortable, it looks distinctive, and it wears differently than typical oyster-style bracelets. Baltic also includes a tropic rubber strap with vintage-style holes. The strap alone on similar watches costs $60. They just include it. The movement is a Miyota 9039. Japanese, reliable, no date. Runs at 28,800 beats per hour for smooth seconds hand sweep. It's not Swiss, but it's proven. The exhibition caseback shows the movement if you care about that. 200 meters of water resistance is standard for dive watches. At $650, the Baltic Aquascaf is for people who prioritize style as much as function. It's not trying to be the most technical dive watch, it's trying to be the best-looking dive watch that also happens to be fully functional. For vintage lovers, nothing else at this price comes close. And here's where 2026 gets really interesting. The dirty secret of watch collecting is that some of the best value exists below $300. These watches don't have the cachet of Swiss brands, but they have something better. Rational pricing that holds value, because the initial price wasn't inflated to begin with. You have to check out the Orient Bambino 38mm, which costs $270. This is the only dress watch you'll ever need, period. The Orient Bambino has been the go-to affordable dress watch for a decade, and the newest 38mm version perfects the formula. Japanese automatic movement, domed mineral crystal that catches light beautifully, applied indices and Dauphine hands. The dial work on a $270 watch is legitimately impressive. Orient could cheap out on dial finishing, and most people wouldn't notice. They don't. The sunburst finish, the printing quality, the hand finishing, all executed properly. The case finishing is simple but clean. Polished bezel, brushed sides, thin profile that works under dress shirt cuffs. The stock leather strap is adequate. Most people replace it with something nicer, but that's preference, not necessity. The watch works fine on the stock strap. 40-hour power reserve, hacking seconds, hand winding capability. These are features that weren't standard on affordable watches a decade ago. Now they're expected. The movement accuracy is decent, plus or minus 15 to 20 seconds per day is typical, not chronometer grade, but reliable enough for daily use. At $270, the Bambino is often the first mechanical watch people buy. It's affordable enough that if watch collecting doesn't stick, you're not out much money. But it's nice enough that it demonstrates what makes mechanical watches appealing. The sweep of the seconds hand, the feel of winding, the transparency of the movement through the exhibition caseback, all the romance of mechanical watches without financial risk. Why this beats $600 alternatives? Because the extra $330 doesn't buy you anything meaningful at that price point. You're paying for brand recognition, not better quality. The Bambino is honest about what it is, a well-made Japanese dress watch at a fair price. And speaking of fair price, the Casio GA 2100 takes cheap to another level. It costs $110. The ultimate beater. If you're going to a festival, hitting the gym, or doing anything where you might damage a watch, this is it. The Casio earned its nickname by looking vaguely like an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, octagonal bezel, integrated bracelet aesthetic. Except the Royal Oak costs $40,000 and the Casio costs $110,000. G-Shock durability in a slim package. The GA 2100 is 11.8 millimeters thin. That's thinner than most dive watches, thinner than many dress watches, but it's still shock-resistant, 200-meter water-resistant, and basically indestructible. You can wear this watch in situations where you'd never wear anything expensive. The carbon core guard structure means the case is reinforced with carbon fiber. Light, strong, and protective of the module inside. The analog digital display gives you time, date, alarm, stopwatch, world time. Everything you actually use in a digital watch plus traditional hands that look better. At $110, the Casio is impulse purchase pricing for something that'll last a decade. The color options range from conservative black to wild neon combinations. Some limited edition colorways actually appreciate in value on the secondary market. A $100 watch that gains value. That's unusual. This watch appears on more wrists in watch content than anything else because it's the watch people actually wear when they're not trying to impress anyone. It's honest utility at honest pricing. Casio is cool, but let me tell you about 5i5, the gateway drug into the watch hobby. And yes, I am talking about the Seiko 5 Sports 5KX. The Seiko 5 Sports series, specifically the SKX-inspired models, is where most people start their collection. It's affordable, versatile, and opens the door to modding if that becomes interesting later. The 4R36 movement is Seiko's current standard automatic. 40-hour power reserve, hacking seconds, hand winding. Not fancy, but reliable. The accuracy is typical of Seiko, plus or minus 15 to 20 seconds per day. Some units run better, some worse. It's the lottery of mass production. The case design pulls from the legendary SKX dive watch that Seiko discontinued. 42mm case, 200 meters of water resistance, day-date complication. The finishing is basic. You can see machining marks on the bracelet end links if you look closely. But the overall package works. You are probably. Why is this guy recommending a basic watch that even costs more than Casio? The thing is, you can play with the 5KX as much as you want. It has replacement parts everywhere. You can swap the dial, hands, bezel, insert, chapter ring, even the case, and create something completely custom. Some people keep it stock. Others turn it into a project. Both approaches work. At $295, the 5KX occupies the sweet spot between cheap and expensive. It's affordable enough to not stress about. It's nice enough to wear daily. And it introduces concepts like automatic movements and complications without requiring major investment. The value retention on entry Seiko 5 models is stable. You buy at $300, sell at $250 used. That's minimal depreciation compared to $600 watches that drop to $300. Starting at a rational price point protects value. These budget watches reveal something important about 2026. The under $300 category has better value retention than the $600 to $800 range. Orient Bambino holds value because $270 is already a fair price. Casio actually appreciates in certain colorways because demand exceeds supply. Gateway Seikos stay stable around $250 used. Compare that to $600 Seiko Prospex models that drop to $400, or $800 micro brands that fall to $500. The depreciation cliff exists in the middle range because that's where brand premium and marketing costs inflate prices beyond actual value. At under $300, you're mostly paying for the watch itself. At $600 to $800, you're paying for marketing, brand positioning, and distribution networks. The physical watch might be better in the $600 tier, but not $300 better. That gap is overhead, not value. This is why budget watches make sense for people who understand the total cost of ownership. Buy a $270 Bambino, wear it for 3 years, sell it for $200. Total cost, $70, or about $2 per month. Buy a $600 dress watch, sell for $350. Total cost, $250, or about $7 per month. The more expensive watch costs 3.5 times as much to own despite being only twice the purchase price. Smart buyers know this. They start with budget watches, figure out what they actually like, then move to mid-tier or high-end with knowledge instead of guessing. Or they stay in the budget tier because the value makes sense and they'd rather spend money elsewhere. Now that I have told you about watches that will save you from wasting money on luxury, let's move on to the next part, the 2026 trends that change everything. 2 major trends are reshaping the market: neo-vintage design philosophy and material democratization. Both favor buyers over brands. 5 years ago, you chose between vintage aesthetics or modern reliability. Vintage watches looked great, but stopped randomly, lost accuracy, and required expensive service. Modern watches were reliable, but often looked generic or overly technical. 2026 killed that trade-off. Brands realized they could put silicone hairsprings, anti-magnetic components, ceramic bezels, and sapphire crystals inside vintage-inspired cases. You get 60s tool watch aesthetics with 20s reliability. The Hamilton khaki field looks like it came from 1968. The hand-wind movement reinforces that vintage feel. But the anti-magnetic shielding, shock protection, and modern metallurgy mean it'll run accurately for decades with minimal service. That combination didn't exist a decade ago. The Tissot PRX looks like a 70s integrated bracelet watch from the Gerald Genta era. But that 80-hour power reserve comes from modern spring metallurgy and bearing efficiency. The silicon components in the Powermatic movement resist magnetic fields that would stop vintage watches. Even the Baltic Aquascaf, designed to look vintage, uses modern sapphire crystal instead of acrylic, modern lume instead of radium, and modern water-resistant standards instead of vintage water-resistant claims that meant nothing. This trend benefits buyers because you're not compromising. You get style and substance. The question used to be vintage or modern. Now it's, which vintage aesthetic do you prefer with your modern movement? Now, let's talk about the dials. Malachite dials used to be exclusive to Rolex Day-Dates and Patek Philippe Calatravas at $30,000 minimum. Tiger's Eye, turquoise, onyx, these natural stone dials required specialized cutting, fitting, and finishing. Only luxury brands could justify the cost. Micro brands changed that equation. Christopher Ward offers malachite dial variants for under $1,000. The stone is the same material Rolex uses. The cutting process is the same. The uniqueness of each dial is the same because natural stone has natural variation. The difference? Christopher Ward sells direct and makes smaller production runs. They're not supporting a global dealer network. They're not paying for Basel World booths or magazine advertising. The money that would go to distribution goes into materials instead. Monta does similar work with exotic dials in their mid-tier watches. Baltic experiments with unusual dial textures and finishes. Even established brands like Tissot are offering more adventurous dial options because micro brands proved demand exists. This democratization means buyers at sub-$1,000 price points have access to genuinely interesting materials that add character and uniqueness. Every malachite dial is different. No 2 Tiger's Eye dials look identical. You're getting actual individuality instead of mass production. The traditional luxury argument was that high price equals exclusivity equals desirability. But if you can get malachite dials for $800 instead of $30,000, what's the luxury brand selling? Just the name on the dial? That math doesn't work for most buyers. So, does this mean for you? If you're buying in 2026, you're getting more from your watch for less money than any previous year. Technology is trickling down faster. Materials are democratizing. Micro brands are forcing traditional brands to improve or become irrelevant. The sweet spot for value is $600 to $1,000 from direct-to-consumer brands. You're getting Swiss movements, proper finishing, interesting materials, and modern technology without paying for distribution networks. The Christopher Ward C63, the Baltic Aquascaf, upcoming releases from Monta and Trasca. These watches compete with pieces costing 3 times as much. At under $300, you're getting reliability and aesthetics that didn't exist at that price point 5 years ago. The Orient Bambino, Casio Cassiope, Seiko 5KX all deliver more than their price suggests. Even in the traditional mid-tier, watches like the Tissot PRX and Seiko King Turtle are better equipped than previous generations. 80-hour reserves, ceramic bezels, sapphire crystals, these upgrades became standard because competition forced brands to improve. You're buying in the best possible moment for affordable watches. The question is, which watch fits your life? How to actually choose. If you only own one watch, you need versatility. The watch has to work Monday through Sunday, office to outdoors, without looking wrong anywhere. Choose Tissot PRX if you lean modern and tech-forward. That integrated bracelet design works in professional settings, but doesn't look stuffy casual. The ice blue dial particularly adapts to context. It's dressy enough for suits, casual enough for t-shirts. Choose Hamilton Khaki Field if you prefer heritage and simplicity. Hand wound movement means daily interaction with the watch. Vintage military aesthetic means it looks interesting without being flashy. Works with everything from blazers to hiking gear. Choose Christopher Ward C63 if you want maximum quality for the money. The finishing is legitimately impressive for under $1,000. You're getting watch nerd level details in a package that doesn't scream for attention. People who know watches will recognize the quality. People who don't will just think it looks nice. All three work as one-watch solutions. Pick based on which aesthetic resonates more. If you need a weekend tool, you want durability and functionality for activities beyond daily office wear. Diving, hiking, travel, sports, the watch needs to handle it. Choose Seiko King Turtle if you prioritize reliability and toughness. ISO-certified dive watch, ceramic bezel that won't scratch, sapphire crystal, proven movement. This watch will outlive you with basic maintenance. Choose Citizen ProMaster Fugu if you want solar charging and accuracy. Never changing batteries is legitimately convenient. The accuracy of quartz means you always know the correct time. ISO certification means it's a real tool, not just marketing. Choose Baltic Aquascaf if style matters as much as function. The vintage aesthetic makes this the best-looking dive watch under $1,000. It's fully functional, 200 meters water resistance, reliable movement, but it prioritizes aesthetics alongside capability. All three are legitimate tool watches. Pick based on whether you prefer maximum durability, maximum convenience, or maximum style. If the budget is tight, you need quality without overspending. The watch should look nice, work reliably, and not depreciate into nothing. Choose Orient Bambino for dress occasions. Any formal event, professional setting, or situation requiring traditional aesthetics. This watch handles it at $270. Go for Casio Cassiope for everything else. Casual daily wear, sports, travel, situations where damage is possible. $110 for something indestructible is smart money. Choose Seiko 5KX if you want an all-arounder with mechanical movement. It works as a daily watch, handles water and activity, and introduces mechanical watchmaking at low financial risk. All three deliver more than their price suggests. Pick based on which situations you encounter most often. 2026 is the year. Affordable watches finally beat expensive watches on everything except the name on the dial. The technology gap closed. Silicone hairsprings, ceramic components, advanced lume, anti-magnetic shielding, all standard now in $600 watches. The materials gap closed. Stone dials, sapphire crystals, exhibition casebacks, quality finishing available under $1,000 from direct-to-consumer brands. The only remaining difference is brand heritage and authorized dealer networks. You're paying for the name, and the retail experience. For some people, that matters. For most people, it doesn't justify tripling the price. But here's what makes 2026 unique. This won't last. Brands are racing to the bottom on price while racing to the top on quality. That's unsustainable. Some micro brands will fail. Some traditional brands will exit the affordable tier entirely. Consolidation is coming. By 2027 or 2028, expect the market to contract. The brands that survive will be the ones that found sustainable business models. Some current options will disappear. Some prices will increase as brands realize they can't profitably deliver this much quality at these prices. The window is now. Technology democratized, materials became accessible, direct-to-consumer proved viable. All three happened simultaneously, creating a buyer's market that favors quality over brand names. 5 years ago, buying affordable watches meant compromising on quality or aesthetics. Today, it means getting genuine quality at fair prices. 5 years from now, it might mean fewer options and higher prices as the market corrects. The best time to buy affordable watches was 2026. The second best time is right now, today, before this opportunity closes. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is happening right now. While competition keeps quality high and prices low, while micro brands are hungry and traditional brands are scared, while the gap between affordable and luxury is the smallest it's been in decades. Your watch is out there. One watch for everything. A weekend tool or maximum value on a tight budget. The category doesn't matter. What matters is that in 2026, you're getting the best possible version of whatever you choose. Buy the watch. Wear it. Enjoy it. And remember that the name on the dial matters less than the life you live while wearing it. And also like this video and subscribe to this channel because we've got more watches that wouldn't wreck your bank account for you.